2013, Naughty Dog released The Last of Us to critical acclaim. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, it was widely praised for its writing and storytelling, focusing on now-beloved characters Joel and Ellie. Fast forward to 2020, and it's been almost 7 years since the original's release. With Naughty Dog's pedigree and following the high praise that the original received, The Last of Us Part 2 had extremely lofty expectations to meet. Part 2 not only improves on just about every gameplay element from the original game, but it also shows us how storytelling within video games can be unique and incredibly powerful.
Be safe. Thanks.
The story takes place 5 years after the events of the first game. Joel and Ellie have settled down and are living in Jackson, the settlement seen at the end of the first game. This time around, the emphasis has shifted more onto Ellie. Since living in the settlement, Ellie has formed relationships with new characters, all of which are introduced effortlessly and deepen Ellie's character while also creating their own spot in this world. Life inside the settlement seems normal compared to what Ellie and Joel went through in Part 1. The world outside of settlements and camps is overrun with infected. While completing a routine patrol of the surrounding area, something happens that ignites the story in Part 2. The story deals with some of the greatest and worst aspects of humanity: love, hate, obsession, and forgiveness. It often deals with these themes in contrasts and parallels. Without spoiling anything, the story takes a very bold direction and it challenges the player in numerous ways. Many video games pride themselves on player choice and the ability to decide the outcomes of specific moments. The Last of Us Part 2 intentionally doesn't offer those choices, which can be upsetting, unsettling, and uncomfortable. But by doing so, it stays 100% true to every character. Here, Naughty Dog has conceived some of the deepest and most complete characters in a video game to date. As soon as the game begins and you take control for the first time, it's immediately clear that this is a stunningly beautiful video game. It might be something that we have come to expect, but once again, Naughty Dog has made a game that looks artistically and technically astounding. Without question, these are the most expressive and best-looking faces we have seen in a video game. The subtle thoughts and emotions that can be read across a character's face without them saying a single word is extremely impressive. There were multiple times when I felt like I was actually watching people instead of video game characters. Every environment is painstakingly detailed. Gorgeous grass covers the worn streets. Snow falls off of trees when something's brushed against them. There were many times when I stopped walking because I noticed how a reflection was naturally being shown in a puddle of water. The inside of offices, stores, and homes are densely packed with details and objects that can tell stories on their own. The world can be naturally pretty, but equally as dark and grim. There are many locations that are almost pitch black other than the light of your flashlight. The infected look and sound terrifying. The visuals are terrific, but so is the audio design. The sound effects of weapons make them feel powerful. The differences in the way rain sounds coming into contact with different surfaces is incredible. The terrifying sounds of the infected can make your skin crawl. The music is subtle and fits the tone of the game perfectly. It does an excellent job at accompanying emotional moments and heightening intense ones. Just like many aspects in the game, the music and audio can be beautiful and dark. The awesome audio design combined with the stunning visuals make The Last of Us Part 2 a technical marvel. It's hard to imagine that with the PS5 on the horizon, this game could somehow look and sound even better. It's clear that the development of previous Naughty Dog games have influenced portions of The Last of Us Part 2's gameplay. There's an open area early on that is reminiscent of the open design in Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy. The player is freely able to explore a fairly large open area while on horseback. You can dismount and explore many buildings, discovering secrets, equipment, and supplies that you can use along your way. While you're exploring, you will sometimes see a journal prompt, allowing Ellie to write or draw within her journal. You can access her journal at any time, and I highly recommend doing so. Most of the environments are linear, but they are designed so well that they feel like much more than just a level or a path. Most areas are densely packed and have many ways to navigate so that they never feel limiting. Ellie can now squeeze through vertical gaps in walls as well as go prone. Both new additions can help in combat as well as traversing the world and getting into areas that first seem inaccessible. In the world, there are 3 main resources to discover: supplies, parts, and pills. The fact that crafting doesn't slow down time or pause the game makes it important to be prepared. I noticed while I played on normal, and I do think I probably explore and scavenge more than most people, I found that I was topped off on supplies throughout most of the game. The pills you find can be used to unlock skills such as being able to hold your breath while aiming any weapon or faster stealth kills. Many of the skills are interesting, but the linear design of the skill trees does take away from some potential freedom. Parts are used to upgrade weapons. You're able to craft and level up skills whenever you'd like to, but to upgrade a weapon you must be at a workbench. There are numerous throughout the game, many of them are hard to miss, but there are certainly some that are hidden very well. When you do get to a workbench, you will immediately notice the detail, animations, and audio design. It's incredibly satisfying to see and hear Ellie take apart a weapon and put a new barrel or handle on it. While exploring, you will come across notes that have been left behind. Many of them tell stories of past events that further help deepen the world. On some notes, you will find a code to a combination safe that holds valuable resources. You'll also occasionally find locked doors. Finding out how to get inside can sometimes be as simple as surveying the environment and finding something to climb on or crawl under. Other times, it might require a little more ingenuity. There's no question the combat is extremely brutal and intense. Looking at a character's facial expression while they're stabbing or choking out someone from behind is intentionally unsettling. The way limbs can be blown off or the way blood splatters across a wall when you get a headshot only adds to the brutality. Enemies will often refer to one another by name. If spotted, you can sometimes hear them yell to their allies that you're hiding behind a truck or that you ran inside a building.
Let go, bitch!
Dealing with the infected is a little different. There are a few new types of infected. One in particular doesn't really show up in listening mode, which makes approaching a room full of infected a little more nerve-wracking, knowing that a few of them could be hiding in the shadows. Encounters with the infected certainly have a different dynamic. There are a few situations where you have the opportunity to pit infected against human enemies. Stealth and patience are definitely rewarded throughout most all combat encounters. If you do get caught, whether you're fighting human enemies or infected, once you've been spotted, you can run and hide and try to outmaneuver them. It can be a great way to catch a foe off guard, and it's satisfying when you're able to do it. The Last of Us Part 2 tells an emotional, thought-provoking story in a way that is only possible within video games. It challenged me to look inward and to think about my actions and beliefs. More importantly, though, it made me think about others. It's an experience unlike any I've had while playing a video game, and I won't stop thinking about it for a very long time. If you are a fan of the first game or you're a fan of story-driven games, this masterpiece is a must-play.